And I think the last segment of rebrand is actually cool because it's really 2 points to talking at. It's this idea of, I don't know, we ain't got to talk about 2 Chainz, but we can really just talk about brand failures. And we can just, that can be 1 point. All right, we go right into
Don't
the
worry
third.
about the time, man. Just,
no, I always got to be mindful.
Just put the points on the board, numbers on the board.
That's right.
Feel me?
That's right.
Yeah, true,
That's
true,
right.
true. Look at you, coach.
I'm just saying.
All right, conditioning and shit.
Player coach. You heard? Like Tom Brady, or I know you want to be a coach one day, or like LeBron, Le Coach.
That's terrible.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. That's a good one. You know, LeBron be coaching by all playing. I don't want to introduce myself first. Why don't y'all go first?
Man. All right.
No, I'm saying I don't want to go first.
Okay,
I'll go first.
No, you go first.
So what's good? What's good, folks? Another edition of Ab Bros. It's your boy Easy Rose, Brownsville finest. You already know I'm having it my way, and feels good to be back with my bros again. And we really chopping up some game, and we talking some realness as it relates to the culture and advertising. So feels good to be back.
What's good, people? This your boy AD, all the way from ATL by way of Grady, by way of Decatur. Shout out to my folks on the east side, the west side, and the south side. Love you guys.
What's up? What's up? Tony Stallion here. I just remembered I forgot in the last 2 episodes. Shout out to Queens representative, New York. Here with the Ad Bros to wrap up this trilogy in this series about branding. And here we are here to talk about some rebranding failures. I have some successes too that I'll put at the end, but I kind of mentioned in episode 2, but just to kind of reiterate here, a company or a person will rebrand themselves to maybe get a new audience, maybe to expand who they're marketing to, just on an everyday. Like I could say to myself, like I remember I rebranded myself multiple times from like when I was in high school, I maybe acted and dressed a certain way. And when I went to college, I wanted to feel a certain way, more business casual. We can talk about that on another pod, of business casual life in New York. And then as I got older into my 30s, I was like, hey, how do I want to feel and represent myself? But we could jump into what are some, brand failures or rebranding failures that come to mind for you guys. I have one straight off the dome, but I'll let you guys go first.
I'll go with a branding failure. I would say Blockbuster. And I feel like because they weren't able to adapt, like they had an opportunity to actually acquire Netflix from what I remember. And it didn't. They didn't want to pivot. They didn't want to pivot, right? And Netflix was actually, the idea of streaming movies or content was the future. And I guess Blockbuster just couldn't see that far. So as a result, I don't know what they're doing now.
There's one left.
I'm going to go very nostalgic here. I used to work for this company, Yellow Pages. At the time, there's multiple Yellow Pages because they're from the Bell system of the network of Bell labs or systems or companies throughout the country. They all had their form of a Yellow Page. And I worked for Bell Soft Advertising and Publishing, or BABCO, which was the Yellow Pages for the Southeast. And we told those guys back in like 98, 99 that it's this thing called Google that you may want to like emulate, because what they're doing, they're indexing the internet and they're allowing people to go on and search for businesses and homes and cool things and around advertising. And you know what they told us? Yeah, that's a fad. That's not going to last long. Our product and service is this big yellow book that nobody liked.
That's never going to work.
That people use to put their kids on to eat food and all kinds of weird shit, right? And we told them like, hey, all right, cool. Well, good luck. And sure enough, Yellow Page is not around anymore.
Good luck.
People use...
But what killed them actually wasn't really the Yellow... wasn't Google. It was Craigslist.
Yeah.
Craigslist was really killed the Yellow Pages. But Google did put a dent in them, big time. Damn. So that was a brand failure right there.
When I think about the Yellow Pages, I think about the episode in The Wire when Omar went to jail and he knew like he had opposition in jail.
Yeah.
So he had yellow pages that he like wrapped around himself.
It was like a bulletproof.
Right. And they was stabbing him.
Hey, man.
I mean, it put on like 30, 40 pounds,
Right.
but it kept him protected.
Can be used for defense. Or
I know
to
that
find a
in the ghetto they do that too.
Stop
I think
a
they
bullet,
still do it. Yes.
Nice.
Stabbing.
So I actually have I have three I'm gonna jump into. So the first one I have Tropicana. In 2009, I looked
That
this up.
packaging,
In
right?
2009, yeah, they replaced its iconic orange with a straw to like a minimalist design. Their sales dropped 20%,
That's huge.
and at the time, their revenue had reached $7 million a year. So you could do the math: 20% of 7 million. Their revenue had reached 700 million a year. So you could do the math on that. 20%. I ain't doing the math, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's great. And I do remember that too, because a lot of designers kind of talked about like while they appreciate the minimalistic kind of design, it lacked a certain sense of like humanity and a kind of warmth to it. Mine is just orange juice, but that plays into.
But I think you know one of the things with rebranding, you got to realize that your audience is usually invested in the company, so you could lose your audience. I'll go through two more real quick just because you mentioned design. Gap, they tried to do a minimalist logo, 2010, and they had such a poor response from the audience that they literally went back within a week. That rebranding, I don't know. I think it cost them. I don't know if it cost them in sales or if they spent this money, but it cost them $100 million.
I'm going to go on a limb here. I think sometimes when brands do rebrands, it's a great way to draw attention. I'm not saying that this is conspiracy theory here. All thing I'm saying is brands know the inherent value of their brand and why people like that. They have the data. They have all of those different metrics and like just information as to why something is working. I think sometimes brands, and I've seen this done with Coca-Cola, they will actually change a product or sunset something just to draw attention. And then it gets you thinking about the brand a little bit more, this top of mind thing that Rose is talking about. And now they're getting all this free press about people having outrage for something being changed. The Jaguar redid their logo recently, and it was kind of like weird looking. And it's like this, futuristic looking font. But a lot of times these brands do these rebranding literally for like clicks in media. I'm not saying that's true or not true, but I've seen the pattern happen time and time after again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think brands. We worked at a lot of these companies. No disrespect, I don't think a lot of these people are that smart. I think sometimes.
Well, Coca-Cola did that.
Okay, well, shouts to
Coca-Cola literally changed their formula and sunsetted classic Coca-Cola, knowing that was a troll move to get people outraged about the product.
Well, that's
and then they brought it back.
That's a little bit different from what I was going to say, but I think a lot of the times it's a new. Well, let me just say this point. I'll get back to that. A lot of times it's just a new person in marketing who wants to like leave his stamp, and then they just say like, "Hey, we're gonna rebrand," and then it fails, and then I was gonna say,
case of Coca-Cola,
I was gonna say it's different because I think a lot of just because I've been in some rebrands, I think a lot of times, I think saying like, "Hey, we're gonna come up with classic Coca-Cola. We're gonna have a new formula, and then sell you classic," is more. It feels like it's more of a, "Hey, this is a product we're gonna sell. We're gonna make money from this from this situation, and we're gonna be able to lose audience but bring them back." What I'm talking about is different. Is like brands like changing their tagline, their logos, everything about their identity. Totally. Fails.
I'm not saying everybody did that. I'm saying there are brands that intentionally troll, but there are brands who do change things and it don't work. So it's two truths can be the same, right?
Okay, Rose, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, even from an entertainment perspective, just like this change in brands and going back to what you said, AD, just as it relates to see how people react. The show Power, when they were had the intro, it was featured Joe singing on the intro, and then they changed it to Trey Songz, and then people hated it, and then they went on social media and expressed that, and then they brought it back to Joe. I think that's another part that's like interesting as it relates to just brands just making changes, and they're feeling like, for whatever reason, maybe they couldn't pay Joe, maybe 50 Cent and Joe had a spat. I don't know. Yeah. But I think another rebranding, I got two more.
Sometimes people just want to change it.
Yeah, they just want to change it.
There's no reason. They just like, yo,
I mean, even Ad Bros, like we even had a different intro before.
Yeah, that's true.
We just changed it to, shout out to my boy YG. YG. We changed it. But another rebrand is that I thought about is Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane's rebrand. He went to jail. Everybody knows, drinking lean. Gucci Mane, the Gucci Mane belly.
Right.
And then he came back out. He was fit.
Tone fit.
Cut.
People appreciated it. He was on Men's Health magazine cover. I'd never thought I would ever see that.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's another rebrand that's been really successful for him.
He went to my old high school.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you from Zone 6?
They call it Zone 6. I didn't grow up calling it.
You from the 6?
Listen, bro.
Yeah,
I didn't grow up.
That.
We didn't grow up calling our. I mean,
East Atlanta,
but we didn't call that shit Zone 6. I mean, Zone 6.
See,
These young boys did that.
That's how I knew it. Like I just always heard Gucci say that.
Although Cop City is right around the corner from my high school, but yeah, whatever with that.
And my last one, rebranding is my boy, one of my favorites, Project Pat. Like how he's rebranded himself from being just kind of like guerrilla, in your face, very direct. And we're not even going to get into Project Pat's content.
He got a jazz album? One of them dudes got a jazz album.
No, his brother, Juicy J. That's his brother. But his rebranding, I mean, we can kind of talk about that too, but his rebranding now, he's a pastor. He's a minister now, Project Pat. So,
they say pimps go easily become pastors.
Yeah, I think it's funny. You could go rebranding. You can kind of start with companies, but yeah, you can always go into celebs and individuals because, like, I think there's plenty of people out there you can look at, and if you trace it back, the reason why they're probably making a pivot is probably because they probably have some data where they're like, hey, you're losing market share. You're losing market share because of whatever reason. We need to rebrand you. You need to, get into the health space. You need to get into this space. So, that's also a thing, if you dive into the individual reason. But two more brand failures, and then I have some successes. Just because you mentioned design, in 2006, MasterCard, new logo. It had it included gradients, shadows, and a third translucent circle. Customers hated it.
I mean, anything with a gradient, in my opinion, is a failure.
Yeah.
As a designer, I don't care.
And it's funny, I think both of you guys alluded to it, but I think the easiest way to tell if a rebrand is successful is how the audience reacts to it. The audience reacts mostly positive, then you have a success. If they're negative, then you already know what it is. And then my last brand failure to me, don't cancel us, but Twitter to X, Elon. I think that was a huge brand failure. In my
Why does he use X on everything?
Who knows?
I mean, it's supposedly some mathematical.
Well, if you think
if
you think about his branding, it's probably better for him because it's easier for people to identify his, personal brand. But in terms of like just the brand equity that you bought, you lost so much by changing. Like I know people. I don't know any. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't know anybody. I know a lot of people who still call it Twitter. Most people don't even call it X.
It's weird. I still call it Twitter, even though don't even use it anymore.
And isn't he getting to like the emails? I think he's gonna have like an X email.
I can see that. I mean, that's another. He's still gonna be using the old protocols for emails. I'm sure he's gonna want to try to figure out how to break that too. But yeah, he even got the X AI called Gronk. I don't know. That's his thing. But I think the brand. We talked about brand failures. There are some brand success stories, right? Like one that comes to mind is the Apple campaign when Steve kind of came back to the company, and there was kind of this weird
Apple,
place. That whole the Think Different.
I think they've had multiple rebrandings,
but that one in particular, the Think Different, it's kind of argue about who actually came up with this idea of Think Different. I don't know if it was TBWA or was it somewhere in Apple, but nonetheless, that campaign showed no products because Apple didn't have any great products at the time. But it showed this idea of the rebels, right? These different outcast people, right? Everybody from like Pablo Picasso to, I guess the lady who was really cool with the primates to these dancers to like a Miles Davis to like, these outcasts of culture. But that was a really cool rebrand of a company to go from being the old scrappy Apple that was kind of lost to something a little bit different. It set it up for the future, right?
Yeah.
You know, without that campaign, you probably wouldn't have a iPod or the new Macs, or definitely wouldn't have an iPhone, right? So this idea of thinking different.
Or if you did, it might not match what that previous brand identity was.
It'd be like, here's an iPhone that came out of the new. Like, nobody cares.
You'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
So that's actually important.
So I think that was a good rebrand. I can't think of another good one.
I have one that's simple that I didn't realize till I looked it up, but Dunkin'.
I was just
Dunkin's
thinking
good.
the
Oh, my
same
bad.
thing.
It's really
No,
good.
it's all good. Go ahead.
Nah,
man.
because
really
I didn't realize.
I didn't realize it either.
America runs on
Like-
Dunkin'. That is really
Like
good.
it used for years.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I was thinking
And then I think maybe it was 3 Super Bowls ago, but I remember seeing Dunkin', but it was so subtle that like I don't even think most people realize they changed the brand.
You know when I noticed it? A young person told me, like a teenager.
It's
It was
colorful
like,
too for them, right? It
Yeah.
kind of attracts them.
They was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Dunkin'. I'm like, Dunkin' Donuts? And like, no, Dunkin'. I'm like, Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh shit!
And
I
then,
didn't think about that.
they
Yeah.
made me realize it. Because, you know, the colors and everything, the fonts are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that's like a huge successful one. To me, another one, I would say Old Spice. Like I think,
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I guess you could I guess technically what they're doing now is within the rebrand, but like when they started with those Terry Crews ads that
I
were
forgot
like
the other
super
guy's name.
wild and crazy. And is it Mustafa? I
Mustafa.
think?
Yeah, that's him.
And then it's always like these super outrageous ads, and then it's like they're a deodorant body wash brand, but then they kind of evolve. Yeah, they kind of evolve. I want to say Old Spice was originally like aftershave, and then it kind of evolved to deodorant, then evolved to body wash, and like now they're doing those funny ads with Dion Cole, I think. And it's like they just kind of evolved into a funny, lighthearted brand that's like easily relatable and just.
Nah,
like,
you're
yeah.
right, because Old Spice used to be the old man shaving stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
My dad would wear that.
My
stuff,
grandfather,
right?
I feel like, had a bottle.
And the
Yeah.
deodorant did not work. I'm going to just say,
Yeah.
Old Spice deodorant did not work. It faded. Go ahead.
I'm talking about the brand, not the product.
No, I'm just saying like that leaves a bad.
Federal Express, that's another one. I remember when it used to be Federal Express, and he shortened it down to FedEx, and even the E and the X has an arrow inside of it that points towards a directional way of this idea of delivery or logistics, right? What's some other really?
I got one.
Oh, right.
The one I thought about was State Farm, just switching Jake's from State Farms.
At first,
Yeah.
At first, I ain't gonna lie.
I didn't think that it was gonna work.
I didn't think it was gonna work at
Yeah.
first, but they. Yeah,
But I mean, it's been pretty
interesting.
successful.
Yeah.
I mean, but a lot of that is, of course, associated with the media and then putting it in your face, as well as integrating like athletes. I know Chris Paul's had his run. The decorated loser that he has had his run with State Farm. You know, I'm going to always get a Chris Paul.
What happens when brands associate themselves with a person that becomes synonymous with the brand, and that person becomes toxic, like Jerry
Yeah, I was
from
thinking of Jerry.
Subway?
You cut them loose.
Or you just make a cartoon character or something like that. Like
Yeah.
you just.
I mean, that's a simple answer. I think if you.
I mean, it obviously
I
cut
think-
them, yeah,
I
but
think-
what does
I
that
think-
do to the brand?
I mean, I think.
Because Jerry was kind of like the spokesperson for not just Subway, but this
That's
idea
a very extreme example. I'm trying to think of something.
But no, check it out. Jerry was like a representation of, hey, if I'm part of this brand, it means I'm living a healthy lifestyle. I'm losing all this weight, right? It became synonymous with a lot of stuff that didn't really have nothing to do with Subway, but Subway used that, right?
All right. Do you want me to be honest?
I mean, that's what the Abros is about.
All right.
Do you know
I
the
think-
do you know the tagline?
I think.
Do you know
I think what
the tagline,
brands
Tony?
do.
No soft talk, right?
That's gonna sound fucked up.
Okay.
I think what brands do. All right. I'm gonna just say what I think Subway probably did. I think what some brands probably do first is they try to sweep it under the rug, depending on the seriousness of the actions of the spokesperson. I think they'll try to sweep it under the rug, pay people off. But once it's grown bigger than them, then I think they move into like, all right, we're gonna have to, outside of cutting this person off, how do you disassociate yourself with that spokesman? And I think they get into two bags. They get into their PR bag, and they get into like just changing things.
Risk management.
So yeah, risk management. But you get into like, all right, what can we do that will change, that will not have people associate us with this person. I think Subway for a while, a couple of years, was kind of just trying to figure out who they
Had
were.
it been the same
and
since?
rebrand.
No, I think they've been featuring just like product. Like they haven't even featured anymore.
I think they're just doing product. I don't think they've been the same since, but I don't want to equate that to the Jared spokesperson debacle. I equate that to, I think, other brands becoming more healthy in terms of what foods they serve. So I think other people jumped in. I think when they started to fall, other people jumped into their market and started to grab some of their market share, and they haven't been able to get it back.
And I think, real quick, I think that they've kind of pivoted their brand values, right? Because like with Jared, it was the whole thing losing weight. And now Subway, they don't even promote that anymore.
Yeah,
like it's not about it. Now it's just about getting a sandwich at a decent price.
Well, I was gonna say that. I was like, I feel like with Jared, it was Jared was eating healthy, and then after, in the interim, it was kind of like you can get $5 footlongs, but now because of how much shit costs, you can't even get like a footlong sandwich for a cheap price at Subway. So
yeah,
I think it's a number of just factors that kind of led to that.
I didn't want to say footlong.
Okay.
You said it twice. That's the only reason I said it.
Oh, one last successful one, just because I just saw it on. I think Kia was pretty successful too.
Oh yeah, Kia.
They had when they changed their logo.
I didn't like the logo.
The new one.
I don't too much care for the new one.
I don't like it, but I respect.
I understand why.
I think they're getting more sales, more market share. Like I respect the modernization of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, rebranding could really, like, I remember. All right, one last story. I remember when I was working on a bank brand, and this is why branding is so huge. We wanted to change the logo a little bit and change the tagline, and the company was like, they kept kind of stringing it along, but they were basically saying no in a nice way. But for them to change this tagline, they would have to change all of the awnings in the company. You have to change all the pens.
You got to reprint all of that.
You have to reprint cards. It's so much. You have to go. I'm trying not to say what the brand is. You have to go to the brick and mortar place and change all these things across the country and Canada. I'll tell you how big the brand is. So it's like it's a big deal, and it's a lot to walk away from.
It's a commitment.
It's a lot of brand equity you're walking away from if people feel you're synonymous with this thing.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, just to wrap it, rebranding at the end of the day, it costs money because you got to now get everybody to like believe in that brand again. And that's huge, right? To kind of spend money to have people to re-engage and just understand a new brand tone or voice or messaging. Like that costs a lot, and it could fail.
You know what I just thought of? Another kind of Subway situation. Papa John's. No, but when Papa John was on the phone call, I know someone that worked on that brand, and he liked to throw the N-word around. And a lot
Sound
of
like the Clippers.
Yeah.
Sound like the Clippers rebranding.
Yeah. But in similarities to Subway, they kind of pivoted to just product until kind of Shaq came on board, and then now Shaq is kind of their spokesperson. But it's interesting. I guess that's just pointing out. I guess that's what a lot of brands do. They'll pivot to just product until they could figure out what that new brand will be. So maybe we got something there.
Yeah, well, brands are people. People are brands, and sometimes you got to not use a human.
Protect your brand. That's what I'm gonna end on.
Protect your brand, or use an AI bot. We close it with that.
Yeah, we're gonna close it with that. Another legendary episode of Ad Bros. And as y'all know, no soft talk when it comes to telling the truth.
Yes, sir.
Peace, guys.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ad Bros podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your crew. Catch us next time for more insights and creativity, only on the Ad Bros podcast, powered by Caffeine Media Network.